This is the Fancy Pants Lounge, a topless, bottomless sex joint on a back alley in Highland Park. Hardly the setting for a story that would stir the conscience of a nation. Yet it was here, in this seamy place, that the story begins. Vincent Chin, a student from Oak Park, came here with 3 of his buddies one night in June of 1982, a bachelor's party. Vincent was being married in 9 days. Also here that night was Ronald Ebens, a Chrysler foreman, and his stepson, Michael Nitz. Over watery drinks that night, Ronald Ebens called Chin a dirty name, a racist insult. And before the night was out, Vincent Chin was dead. The Fancy Pants is hardcore. It costs $2 to park your car, $10 to get in the door. A dimly lit place where scantily clad girls sit along the wall, waiting their turn to expose themselves to a room full of men. During one of the nude dances that night, Ron Ebens looked across the runway and spotted Vincent Chin. Dancer Racine Caldwell heard the argument.
Okay, I turned around and I heard Mr. Evans say something about the little mother. And Vincent said, "I'm not a little mother." And he said, "Well, I don't know if you're a big one or a little one." Then he said something about, "Well, because y'all mothers were out of work."
Chin came around the runway and pushed Ebens. Ebens picked up a chair. Chin blocked the blow with a different chair, and the bouncer moved quickly to end the fight, to eject both parties. But Ebens wasn't done. He went to his car and got a baseball bat. Shouting obscenities, he charged at Chin and his friends. They scattered in fear, some running toward Woodward, others fleeing into the parking lot. Ebens and Nitz, now in their car, went hunting for Vincent Chin. They even stopped once along the way and picked up a black man, offering him $20 to help them get a Chinaman. They spotted Vincent here in front of the McDonald's. 2 Highland Park police officers actually witnessed the attack.
Mr. Evans, he produced a baseball bat in which he started swinging it at Mr. Chin, and Mr. Nitz held Mr. Chin around his waist.
Chin was badly hurt by the blows, but he broke away and tried to run north on Woodward. Ebens chased him, swinging the bat, staggering him. Bleeding and dazed, terrified by the assault, his friends gone, Chin stood alone in the street. Ron Ebens cocked the Louisville slugger and swung.
Well, the way I would put it is as if he was trying to hit a home run and he made contact with it, and it was a lot of force behind it.
By now, the 2 police officers had their guns and badges out, shouting at Ebens to stop.
We ordered him to drop the baseball bat. He was very hesitant. His eyes were glazed. He was in an outrage.
Jimmy Choi, a buddy from the bachelor's party, knelt down to comfort his battered friend.
Basically, it was all blank. All blank. All blank last night. My mind was all blank that night. Hoping that Vince might pull through. Okay.
Vincent Chin died that night in June of 1982. He's buried here in Detroit, where many citizens were shocked by the crime and stunned when the killers were set free. 3 years probation, $3,000 fine, and costs. But Asian Americans were not surprised. Many believed that if an Asian were to be beaten to death in the United States, it would happen first in Detroit. Tomorrow, climate for a killing. I'm Bob Pizer, News 4 Tonight.
The do or die way, Brooklyn trooper. The track maneuver, New York, Brooklyn representative. Kick up the do or die way, Brooklyn trooper. The track maneuver, Brooklyn representative. Kick up the do or die way.
First and foremost, most rappers are sweet like fructose. When I cock back the burner, y'all punks better be ghosts. I be the 721, 1821. Yes, I'm the illest one. I'm almost doper than anyone. Straight out of the late nights of Bed-Stuy. Stepping up, y'all put your weapons up. I'm making heads fly. You're artificial like saccharin. You're crazy fake. It's more than skills you be lacking in. Concepts you bite cause your identity ain't tight. Trying to be something you're not, like pulling a knife at a gunfight. I'm trooping on that airline flight number 106 and getting all up in your fucking mix. You got me upset, and I got you uptight. Cause my committee's in your city tonight, aight? We coming 17 million of us, plus 2 million Indians, that makes 19 mil. I'm shooting shit up like Wild Bill. I be the supreme father, plus the ill kid with drama. My karma creates the Teflon to pierce your chest armor. And make sure you check your shit before you walk to me or talk to me. Step into me and properly will bring you death by weaponry. My specialty is tearing punks out the frame. Brooklyn Troopers the name, staking claims, I rule all game.
The track maneuverer, Brooklyn represent, ass kicker, the do or die way, Brooklyn trooper. The track maneuverer, Brooklyn represent, ass kicker, the do or die way, Brooklyn trooper. The track maneuverer, Brooklyn represent, ass kicker, the do or die way, Brooklyn trooper. The track maneuverer, Brooklyn represent, ass kicker, the do or die way.
I be your highness, his slickness. You chumps bear witness, the Brooklyn trooper. Trigger finger, physical fitness. Stick you for your spot with the blazer, then I blast ya. Slice precise like Benny Hannes when I come to bring the dramas. Style so swift that you can't peep the guard as your body's laid out. 6 feet deep in the backyard, I laugh hard. While you're mental, I run through mazes. Dark stages of terror to shatter your dressing room mirror. Your whole era gets crushed, your whole show gets bum rushed. Too many dumb punks try to enter this rap scene.
Vincent Chin was an orphan in China when he was adopted to live in the United States, in Highland Park, Michigan. He grew to manhood there and in suburban Oak Park, and experienced what many Asians experience in America.
I met Vincent at a bar, and he said, Gary, someone just called me a slanty-eyed chink. And I said, who? And he said, well, he just left. And I asked him, well, what did you do? And he said, nothing.
Vincent Chin did not turn the other cheek when it happened again in June of 1982. Then he protested and was beaten to death with a baseball bat. The racial insults of the past had grown more pointed, more bitter, more physical as Japanese cars poured into the United States. The handsome little cars ate into U.S. auto sales. Factory lines slowed. Unemployment lines grew. It was easiest to blame the Japanese. The United Auto Workers helped set the tone with this sign in the parking lot of its world headquarters. Crude caricatures with Oriental features began to leer from union bulletin boards, the inside pages of UAW newspapers. Bumper stickers urged action in the language of war. Detroiters were invited for 50 cents a smash to take out their anger on Japanese cars. The import war was so intense that a Japanese network sent its top correspondent to report on the ritual smashings. And inevitably, some took their sledgehammers to the streets.
Several occasions we had cars come in where people claimed that at work their windows had been broken out or key scratches on the hood along the side of the car.
Finally, physical attacks on Asians like Ron Yi, a native of Detroit.
A truck with 2 young guys in it pulled up alongside my car. They got out of their truck. One guy came with a hammer and the other guy with a tire iron towards my car. And I put it in reverse and drove around them.
Only by speeding into a nearby subdivision did Yi escape injury. The tensions caused by the success of the Japanese imports are not limited to Detroit. Here in Fremont, California, just south of San Francisco, the UAW counted nearly 7,000 members as recently as 1979. Then the California market for American cars dried up, and in Fremont, so did the UAW. TV reporter Robert Honda was covering the UAW on a day the workers learned their jobs might be gone forever. One worker turned very bitter.
He saw me, and he kind of zeroed in on me and came up and said, and started pretty much berating Japanese products, saying, like, I don't like sushi, I like steak. And then when he got to the point where he said, I don't believe in karate, this is what I believe in, and then he pulled out a knife.
Honda escaped injury, but not insult. This is not just a Detroit problem or just a problem of the auto industry. Discrimination against Asian Americans even reaches into the halls of Congress.
Some of the members of Congress who are leading the charge to pass domestic content are referring to the Japanese as those little yellow people. So I think there's a tendency at the same time to exploit and fan racial fears and hatreds.
Now, I know the Japanese have been over here.
The man who said little yellow people was John Dingell, congressman from downriver Detroit. The UAW would not talk with us on these questions, but the union and the big three automakers are on record denying any racist intent aimed at Asians. But Asians are not so sure.
There's no question, absolutely no question in my mind, that if Vincent had not been Chinese or had not been Asian-looking, Japanese-looking, he would be alive today.
Mrs. Lily Chin cannot understand why her son was killed. She cannot comprehend why his killers are free.
What kind of a law? Kill my son, don't put him in jail. This time, I'm very angry. All the time I cry.
Tomorrow, justice is blind. I'm Bob Pizer, News 4 Tonight.
Johnson.
This is William Cahalan, 17 years prosecuting attorney, Wayne County. He doesn't like to talk about the Vincent Chin case.
You keep on zeroing in on that case. Now, you want to end the conversation, or do you want to?
This is Judge Charles Kaufman, Wayne County Circuit Court. He tried the Vincent Chin case, and today he refuses to talk at all. This is Helen Zia, a Detroiter who never met Vincent Chin, but who now talks about almost nothing else.
My God, you can brutally attack somebody with a baseball bat and then only pay $3,000 in fines and get probation. I think that in itself is pretty sickening.
Yet that's exactly what happened, despite eyewitness accounts of the killings so graphic that examining magistrate Thomas Bales declared, "I am of the opinion that the elements of first-degree murder are here. First-degree murder. I say to you, gentlemen, that there was the willful, deliberate, premeditated killing of a human being. There was first-degree murder." The prosecutor's office ignored Judge Bales, going instead for second-degree murder. Then Michael Nitz, he held Chin in a bear hug, and his stepfather, Ronald Ebens, he swung the bat, offered a deal. Reduce the charge to manslaughter, and they would plead guilty, or no contest, with no need for a jury trial. So from murder one, with a maximum of life in prison, to manslaughter, with a minimum of no jail at all. But William Cahalan says it was a good deal, that jury trials are too risky.
The only thing that you can say about this case is that the plea was a good plea. We have a few people who are found not guilty by juries, and we have a few hung juries. Even open and shut cases, we've had them found not guilty. Even when we found them with their hand in the drawer, hung jury.
That's pretty much how justice works in Wayne County these days, or in any big city. If there isn't some horse trading up front, the whole system would grind to a halt. The prosecutor didn't show for the Vincent Chin trial. He'd cut his deal beforehand. Now it was up to the judge. Judge Kaufman decided that Ebens and Nitz were not the kind of men likely to kill again, that this was an instance where the punishment should fit the criminals and not the crime. And so he sentenced them. For the killing of Vincent Chin, 3 years probation, a $3,000 fine, and $700 in costs.
I just felt that someone's life is worth more than that. I just felt cheated.
The issue is not whether there has been a miscarriage of justice in this case. I think the issue is who's to blame for it.
Kaufman defends his sentence, although not on camera, and says he would do it again exactly the same way. Cahalan resigned just a few days after a federal grand jury began to investigate the Vincent Chin case, but he insists his office did the right job.
It did do the right thing. I don't know why it's so goddamn difficult for you people to get it through your head. I don't know why the people in the news media, maybe you don't want us to understand. Maybe you want to sell Preparation H and you figure this is a little bit better.
The issues of justice seem to have gotten lost in the courts in Detroit, but they are crystal clear to Asian Americans everywhere. Jan Sanu is a truck driver, a Korean American, a business agent for the Teamsters in San Francisco. He read about the Vincent Chin case in the newspapers, and he sat down to write the words for a song.
Why is it that people with faces that look like mine are judged by different rules in many different times? There is no justice in this land. Justice for Vincent means justice for you and me. We got to stop racial scapegoating. We got to learn from history. There will be justice in this land. We'll fight for justice in this land.
Tomorrow, why it hurts so much. I'm Bob Pizer, News 4 Tonight. Almost nobody heard about the killing of Vincent Chin. In a big city, in a brutal time, even a baseball bat slaying is a ho-hum homicide. It was the sentence of probation and $3,000 fine for the killers that shocked the community and almost broke his mother.
You don't know how they killed my son. One person hold him up, one person, the father to hit him. This looks like it killed the animal. We want justice! We want justice!
In death, Vincent Chin inspired protest marches, rallies, dinners, banquets, even prayers.
Lord, we pray for your justice upon the injustice. You Almighty God.
Judge Charles Kaufman defended his sentence and cynically joked that Asian Americans should give him a prize because he gave them unity.
I wondered what he would say if one of us dared to suggest that Adolf Hitler should get an award from the Jewish people for pulling them together, or if we suggested to the black community that they should give the KKK an award for pulling them together.
Vincent Chin was killed in Detroit, but the sound of the fatal blows was heard in Chicago, Denver, New York, Seattle, and especially in the heart of America's Asian community here in San Francisco. The news of Vincent Chin's killing arrived here on the front pages of East West, a Chinese newspaper with 65,000 readers across America. Editor Diane Wong.
People were very scared, and I think this is the first issue in the history of the entire community that people from all spectrums of political beliefs and whatever agreed that the Vincent Chin case was dangerous. It was a precedent that needed to be stopped. It was a unifying force for all of the community.
The Vincent Chin case was a breaking point for a people renowned for passivity. History tells us why. 100 years ago, Wasp magazine blamed the unemployment of young people on the industriousness of Chinese immigrants. And Asians were the enemy in 3 of America's most recent wars. In the Pacific against Japan, in frozen Korea, in the furnace of Vietnam. During World War II, Japanese Americans were stripped of their businesses, homes, and bank accounts and put in prison camps. One of the most bitter legacies of discrimination can be seen on the benches of San Francisco's parks. Thousands of lonely old men barred for 60 years by the Chinese Exclusion Act from bringing wives or girlfriends to the United States. And, of course, the insults.
Growing up, the day probably didn't go by until the time I was almost in high school where somebody didn't call me a Jap or a chink or some other type of derogatory remark.
And then in June of 1982, Vincent Chin was beaten to death on a street in Highland Park.
It was sort of like everything, all the bad things our parents ever told us coming true.
I want justice for my son, Vincent. I don't want any other mother to suffer like me.
Mrs. Chin's quest for justice and growing anger from Asian Americans prompted the U.S. Justice Department to examine the Vincent Chin case again, and in early November to indict his killers for violation of Chin's civil rights, a charge that carries a life sentence. The federal trial is a long way off, the outcome uncertain. Vincent Chin was beaten to death 17 months ago. Months of grief, hearings, trials, appeals, disappointments. For Mrs. Chin, for Asian Americans, and for many Detroiters, it's still a question of justice. I'm Bob Pizer, News 4 Tonight.